What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track, back with another video. Coming off a great weekend. Martin, or I should say, I guess we could say weekend. It was a Monday. Recording this on Tuesday, so the race actually, was just yesterday, but still had a great race. Martin Truex Jr. We got the win at plus 1100, and then Chris Buescher the top 10. I think that was plus 140. So a great weekend. Good to hit on Truex. I knew that I knew at some point he was bound to hit a bet for us. We hit him at the Clash way back, but it's been a while for Martin Truex Jr. To win a points race. So it's good to see him back in victory lane. Good to see us winning some money. And on to Kansas. Kansas, I love. I think Kansas is a very underrated track. The attendance for two races isn't always great from a fan perspective, but I always think Kansas puts on a good show. I put Kansas and Vegas as two, I think, top tier intermediate tracks that usually always put on a good show, even when the last gen car struggled at intermediates. Those tracks still showed some good fights. So I enjoy watching Kansas. I think this weekend is going to be a good weekend. Now, if we remember, Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, 2311 swept the Kansas races last year. It actually was the same car. It was Kurt Busch's 45 car that won both of those races. I think Bubba's going to be super fast. I think Tyler Reddick's going to be super fast. So basically, I've started giving out my bets. Let's basically get into this. So 2311 I think is going to be really fast, and I think you have to take the chance on them. I don't love the numbers. Bubba right now plus 1400. I think he opened around plus 2000. Reddick down to plus 750. I'm not 100% sure where he opened, but I don't love the numbers, but I think you have to take them, especially Bubba. And maybe if one of those guys, if not both, qualifies bad, right? Let's say Bubba goes out and qualifies 23rd. The line's going to shift, and you got to take it, because I promise you, when it's all said and done, you're going to see one, if not both, of these 2311 cars. If there's no issues with them wrecking or getting involved in a wreck, I think in terms of speed, these are going to be two of the fastest cars on the racetrack. And look, if you're Bubba Wallace, right, I think you've circled this on your schedule since the last Kansas race. You circled this race and said, this is the race where I could win and get into the playoffs. I like him upcoming at Michigan. I think he'll have a good car there. But Bubba Wallace at Kansas with an opportunity to lock himself in the playoffs and really silence those doubters, I think it's a great opportunity for him. And like I said, I think 2311 comes with great race cars. So watch out for them. Another guy I'm looking at, Christopher Bell, plus 850. I think first of all, it's crazy to me that Christopher Bell has 5 career Cup Series wins, and none of them have came on an intermediate track. I believe he has, let's see, let me get the number here. I believe he has 5 poles in his career, most of which have come at intermediate tracks. 4 poles. Most of those have come at intermediate tracks, and this guy has not yet won at an intermediate track in Cup. I think that's going to change soon. I think the trend here is that Toyota is going to be pretty fast. I think they're going to bring the bulk of the good race cars here. You've seen guys like Bell and Hamlin, Bubba even at Vegas. Like they brought fast race cars. Truex is another guy who's had consistent cars at these intermediate racetracks. And so I think Bell is going to qualify up front. He's very good at qualifying on intermediate tracks. I think he'll have a fast car. nice wide racetrack Kansas is. So, there's a lot there. A lot of different, grooves and lines you can run. So I think that suits Bell well. If you remember last year, a lot of the times Bell had really fast cars, just unlucky, blue tires, bad pit crew, that sort of thing. I think this 20 team is locked in. Um, Obviously they're locked into the playoffs, but I mean locked in on it from a competitive standpoint. I think they've really minimized those mistakes, throughout the end of last year and the early starts of this year. So Christopher Bell plus 850, I think it's a great bet for you to take. Larson is another guy. I don't love the number, but again, maybe this is a guy you can wait on. Maybe you don't take the winner, you take the top 5 or the top 3, and you throw a pretty hefty unit count on that. But I mean, Kyle Larson, he said it himself, basically. He's had the best race cars this season at every track. That's what he said. I tend to agree with Kyle Larson. I think he bounces back in a big way. It's not been about speed at all from Larson. He's got 2 wins. He should have 3, if not for an overtime restart. He probably could have about 5 wins if he hasn't got wrecked in some of these races, but he's 3rd in intermediate speed ranking this year, which is really, really good, especially for a guy that has had bad luck. So I like the speed of Larson. I think he bounces back. I think no matter, especially on these intermediate tracks with Hendrick, the cars speak for themselves. Not that Larson isn't an amazing driver. He is. But those cars, Hendrick, just bring, rocket ships to these intermediate tracks. And so I think if Larson stays out of the trouble, avoids any bad luck, I think he's going to be there when it counts at the end. And then finally, another winner I'll go here is Ryan Blaney plus 1,500. I like the number. Maybe again, that goes back a little bit, maybe closer to 2,000. But this guy is inching closer and closer to getting back in victory lane. Most recent win, if we want to call it really a win, was the All-Star race. Didn't count towards the playoffs. Wasn't a points race. But I believe he's inching closer and he is knocking on the door. He qualified well at Vegas. He practiced well at Vegas. He was one of the fastest cars in practice and qualifying. Just when the race came down to it, bad luck, all that sort of thing. But towards the end of the Vegas race, he started to really get fast in those late runs. Penske overall great at the intermediate tracks last year. So I think there's something there for that 12 team and Ryan Blaney. I really do. I think they are very close to putting it all together. And look at a guy like Denny Hamlin, right? It's been the same thing this year for him. He's had fast race cars, and it's the little things on pit road that have caused him, to lose a win. And it's not like Blaney this year hasn't been up front competing. Had a good car at Talladega, had a good car last week at Dover. He's been there. He's had fast race cars. It's just, can you put it all together when it counts? And I think that's coming soon for Ryan Blaney. So those are the winners. Let's go to a prop bet I like. And this is also a Ford. It's going to be Joey Logano, top Ford. To win right now, he's plus 2,200. I really think someone needs to talk to the books right now, because if you continue to put Joey Logano at like plus 2,000 and higher, that's going to hit pretty soon, and that is not good for the books. That is for sure. Just so if you don't know much about how the odds work, is what I'm trying to say. Plus 2,200, that's a $100 bet to win $2,200. So my goodness, for Joey Logano, that kind of value is incredible. Look, I don't know what's going on with Joey Logano. It hasn't been the best year to start. He does have the win. He won at the Super Speedway at Atlanta. He did have a good car at Auto Club, not a great car at Vegas, not a great car last week at Dover. So really, it's been an up and down season, a very interesting one for the reigning champ. But he's a guy, he could be running 30th all race and he can find a way into the top 5, in a matter of seconds. That's just who he is. That's his, team in general. You know, they make good calls. Paul Wolf makes good calls for Logano. So, you know, that is a team that I am really not concerned about at all. I think Joey Logano could absolutely be the top Ford. I think he could absolutely win this race. He's won it plenty times before. So Joey Logano, top Ford. I don't know what that number is going to be, but again, he's plus 2,200 to win with a few Fords in front of him. So I think it's definitely a good bet that you should at least keep an eye on. And then 3 top tens. We'll start with I think I can kind of double these up. So Daniel Suarez, top 10. If you just look at speed in at intermediate tracks this year, he's one of the best. He's one of the best at intermediate tracks so far this year. He's had some bad luck, so I think a track like this could, you know, really turn his season around. Not that he's having a bad season, but the last few races here, he's had a little bit of a rough patch. So I think a track like this would be great for him. Again, I think he's another guy, right? He's like a Larson, he's like a Bell at this point, and really his teammate Chastain is. I feel the same. They're going to have the race cars. It's just a matter of, can they be good enough on pit road? Can they minimize the mistakes? Can they make good calls, meaning the crew chiefs? Can they make good calls? And, you know, if you minimize and stay out of the wrecks and, you know, that sort of thing, this should be an easy one that hits Daniel Suarez top 10. Austin Cindric top 10, another guy that's kind of not been good this season. Had a rough patch recently. So you look at the numbers here, his best finish came at Vegas. That's where he's had his fastest car this year. I think there's a ton of value. I think right now, Cindric to win is like around plus 10,000. So, I mean, they are totally fading Cindric. He was good on the intermediates last year. Not great, but good. He had fast race cars, qualified well. I think he's another guy that's going to qualify up front. And tracks like this, the big intermediate tracks and road courses, I find suit on Austin Cindric well. So it's going to be about the car, but I think Penske's going to bring Cindric a good car. I think he's going to qualify up in the top 10 and bring that top 10 home. I assume you could probably get that around plus 175 maybe in that range. So I think there'll be good value, like I said. And then Ty Gibbs, top 10, another guy. I mean, at this point, there's not much else that can be said about Ty Gibbs in his rookie season. He has been exceptional for a rookie. And I think a lot of people thought, you know, maybe there'd be a little learning curve, right? Maybe something like that where it takes a little bit for Ty to really get locked in and see those results. I think a lot of people saw that, you know, early on, he wouldn't be that good. And then kind of late of the season, you know, that's where he'd shine. But you look at Ty Gibbs, right? His last, 7 races, 9th, 10th, 18th, 31st at Talladega, but that's Talladega. And then just had a great run at Dover, 13th. He probably, I think, deserved a better finish. But, you know, a lot of cars were able to take the wave around late in that race and get back on the lead lap. And so, again, he probably deserved a top 10. Ended up finishing 13th, but for a rookie to put together 4 straight top 10s from race 5 to race 8 in the season, that is incredible. And I look at Ty Gibbs and Joe Gibbs Racing as bringing really, really good cars to this track, this sort of track. And I think same thing I'm going to say with Suarez, same thing I'm going to say with Larson. The car will do what the car needs to do. The car is going to have the speed. It's going to be a matter of, are you locked in on pit road? Are you making the right calls as a crew chief? And are you staying out of the trouble? Because there's going to be trouble here at Kansas. There often is, right? There often is one tough wreck of somebody spinning out and kind of taking a bunch of cars out. So when is that? I don't know. I hope that it's you know, early in the race, right? So not late in the race when that can oftentimes when you have like kind of a late race caution, especially like last week at Dover, right? And a bunch of cars a lap down can take the wave around, and then it's kind of all all hell breaks loose, right? Especially when, you had guys running top 10 all day, and then this kind of flips the switch, right? And gives everybody a chance. So, again, Ty Gibbs, I think if he just runs a clean race, he has the race car to get top 10. So Cindric, Suarez, and Ty Gibbs top 10. And then the prop we talked about was Joey Logano top 4. So there it is. We'll run through the winners one more time as well. Reddick plus 750, Bubba plus 1400, Bell plus 850, Larson plus 500, and Blaney plus 1500. Those are the bets. As always, if you want to see all my bets, Action Network, Johnny on the Track on Action Network. That's all my bets that I post today, tomorrow, post-practice, post-qualifying. Everything is on Action Network, Johnny on the Track on Action Network. Twitter as well, at JOTT, _ podcast. You can find my bets, all my tweets, all that stuff on Twitter. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, definitely subscribe. I see the numbers. They continue to go up. So thanks everybody for subscribing. Definitely like this video. And share it. I mean, if you're new to betting and you find this stuff interesting, share it with your friends, right? That also want to get into NASCAR betting. It's been cool to see a bunch of people in the comments and kind of on Twitter keep saying like, hey, I just got into NASCAR betting, and it's been really fun. I think it's really fun. So like I said, thanks guys for watching. Appreciate it. And let's have a great weekend.